So Twitter is on fire right now with Lakers and Anthony Davis stuff. But I'm going to take a break from my milking of those videos and talk about the Portland Trail Blazers, who made themselves a move. They got Rodney Hood for Nick Stauskas, somebody else, and like some second-round picks or whatever. And the question is this going to make the Blazers any better? Because Rodney Hood, throughout parts of his career, has looked like a dude who had the potential to put up a lot of points. I mean, his days in Utah, where he had the ball a little bit more often, his best season, he averaged, about 15 points a game, was good from three, was beating guys off the dribble. His overall efficiency still wasn't that good because he took too many mid-rangers, but you saw the potential. And since then, his career has had ups and downs, the highest point being perhaps when he was putting up about 17 points a game for the Jazz before Cleveland acquired him, and then the low being his time with the Cavs, where a lot of the time he just didn't know what to do, whether he should shoot, whether he should dribble, was not able to be that other guy that some people, including me, thought he could be next to LeBron. I mean, I called him the best player in that trade, and given that nobody really set the world on fire in that move for the guys who went to Cleveland, maybe that was still true, but it's not like Hood was actually that good. So now for the Cavs this season, 12 points a game, and it seems like the excitement and the fire that could have been in there in 23-year-old Rodney Hood, where you were like, maybe this guy can be a pretty good scorer in the league. It seems that he's dipped back down to average. But perhaps even an average to potentially above average Rodney Hood could still be a pretty big get for the Portland Trail Blazers, because of course we know they've been desperate for another guy on the perimeter who can occasionally create their own shot and play off of CJ and Dame. Now, before I get into all that, I want to say that I don't think the Blazers are done making moves. They still have all of their first-round picks, and given where they are salary-wise and how much longer CJ and Dame have on their contracts, and the fact that there's Nikola Mirotic who's available, I do think they should consider moving a first for him. And maybe somebody else, because once the deadline comes around, somebody usually ends up moving that we don't see coming. So I don't think the Blazers are done. But anyway, if we can talk about this. The thing with Rodney Hood is he likes to have the ball in his hands. And we saw with the Cavs when he was playing off the ball kind of all the time, he had a really tough time just playing well in that environment, right? Hasn't touched the ball for 3 or 4 minutes. Finally gets it, he's open in the corner. You think, okay, just chuck up a three-pointer, makes sense. But then the moment the defender starts closing out, Hood kind of hesitates, does a pump fake, takes 2 dribbles in, and then either hoists up a bad mid-ranger or he passes it back out to the perimeter. Is he going to just let it fly from 3 with the Blazers? I mean, I hope so. They have been running a few more creative sets this year with off-ball movement. It's not like Golden State Warriors levels of off-ball movement, but it's a little bit more stuff than what they've been doing the past couple years. So there's a chance that could get him some more open looks, and perhaps that could simulate the idea of being a part of the offense, even if he actually isn't dribbling as much, because of course CJ and Dame should be dribbling more than he does, and Evan Turner matters in this as well, and I'll get to him in a second. But perhaps just moving and setting off-ball screens could be the kind of thing that keeps Rodney Hood a little bit more engaged. But even so, he does have to stop those moments when he just gets the ball and tries to do too much. And is he going to do that? If you make me guess, I actually think there's still going to be some problems with that, because, he's just not the kind of guy who's just going to be JJ Redick or be like Nick Stauskas, who they just traded away in this move. So there could still be some problems for the Blazers in that regard. Now, could he be more successful with the ball in his hands? I would like to believe so. He certainly could be the third best guy on this team in that regard. But then we take Evan Turner into account, and of course Turner needs the ball in his hands, and unlike Rodney Hood, it's not even like Turner's a good three-point shooter. So while I'm skeptical of a world in which Rodney Hood can be an amazing off-ball guy, I can at least see how it's possible, whereas with Evan Turner, I don't even think that's on the table. And I do think those two are going to play at least a somewhat decent amount together. I don't know if Hood's going to start or come off the bench. The Blazers have been using Mo Harkless and Jake Layman as their starting small forwards all year. I do think Hood could be better than both of them, certainly offensively. I mean, Mo's offense has been pretty lackluster this year, and Layman, I mean, he's fine for what they ask him to do, which is just stand in the corner. But Hood can certainly do more than those two. But perhaps they would still start those guys just because I think, again, they might fit into the game plan more than Hood, where he can be a little bit more erratic. So you could say, okay, well, you'll go to the bench, and in that scenario, he's probably going to play with Evan Turner a lot. So that could be a complication. Now, this could also give them more luxury to stagger Dame and CJ. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but that's interesting because I think for most of this season, Terry Stotts has elected to play Dame and CJ together and then have them sit at the same time. And I think the jury is still out on whether that's the way to go or not. Hood could be viewed as the guy to play with, I don't know, Dame, for example, or CJ, when the other one sits, and then, you know, if it's a success, then he could be like a 15-point scorer, and that could go pretty well. But on the flip side, it could also make the all-bench lineups even better if the fit with Hood and Turner went well, and that could make it a little easier to keep up with the Dame and CJ play and sit together thing. But still, I'm not going crazy over this acquisition. It definitely has potential, but even if it goes well, how much better does this certainly make the Blazers? Now, I'm not saying it's a bad move, because what they sent out to get Rodney Hood really wasn't that much. So I'm content with them doing this, but I don't think it's going to change the world for them. Especially because the Blazers' problem this year, number one, was they played a very tough schedule, and it's actually a little easier for the rest of this season. But number two is the defense has been the thing that has dropped off a little bit from last season. Last year they were 8th in defensive rating. This year they're 16th. I mean, they don't have a lot of great defenders on this team. It's more so they just have a good game plan where the big drops, and they just kind of dare teams to take as many mid-range jumpers as possible, and they have been decently successful at it. Can Rodney Hood play in that system? I don't know. I mean, it's certainly better than what it was in Cleveland, because they didn't have a defensive system with LeBron, and even if they were going to have one this year, there was no way they had the personnel to actually be a good defensive team. So perhaps stepping into this environment, that can be good for Rodney Hood, because you could just tell him what to do and you hope that he just sticks to the game plan. Now, I guess they'll still be able to re-sign him even if he loses his bird rights in this move because of one of their exceptions or whatever. That's what ESPN tells me, so I'm just going to believe it. So there's a chance that if it goes well, they could keep him long term. Now, granted, their salary is what it is, so they're going to have to be conservative with that, but I guess it's possible that he could be here past this season. I have to assume it wouldn't take too much money to keep the guy. So, yeah, I think that's where I'm at with this move. I think it's worth an attempt, because if this hits, then you've got a guy who can do a little bit of everything offensively as a guard, make threes, take some pull-up jumpers, occasionally play in the pick and roll, play off ball, give him the ball a little bit, and it can still be successful. Hey, it's worth the attempt, and again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Blazers were not done making moves, and yeah.